Hello everyone, I think we can start our webinar. So we have 50 registrations. So everybody in the room, so let us start. So thank you all for joining us today. My name is Olena Grunyuk and I'm responsible for the Central and Eastern Europe at SME Banking Club. And I will be a host today. And I'm glad to be joined by Tomasz Górski, Head of Strategy and Global Growth at Cash Direct in Poland. And before joining Cash Director, Tomasz was in charge of SME banking in Idea Bank in Poland and mBank.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Tom. Great to have you today. So we will be discussing during this webinar how banks can become real partners for their SME customers and what are the lessons that fintechs and challenger banks like Revolut are giving to us. But before we start, let me mention some organizational moments. So our webinar is scheduled for 30 minutes. We are recording this webinar, so right after we finish, you will receive the link to the video and to the presentations. In the end of the webinar, we're gonna have some time for questions. So please type your questions even during the presentation, and we will be ready to answer them in the end. So please type your questions into the chat. And so let's go to the topic. Before we start discussing how and what we can learn from Revolut in approaching SMEs, let me give you a very short overview into what we see now in the CE region. So we did a research study last year on the online banking functionalities for SME customers. So in the CE region, so we analyzed 25 banks in 5 countries in the CE on the subject what functions are available both for entrepreneurs and for the companies as well. And here is the results. So what we see here is that the functions like that the customer can see account balances, account history, do payments in local currency, in foreign currency, have different payment templates, etc. So these functions are implemented in more than 70% of the banks. So this is actually a must-have. So this what all the banks have. And this is not that differentiates banks on the market anymore. And what we would like to focus today is the value-added services that are implemented in the less than 30% of the banks in the region. Here in this red. So if we look at the integrated e-invoicing, online accounting, BFM model, and direction with other internal systems of the company. So this still is available for SME customers in a very few number of the banks. And this is actually what differentiates banks now, how in the eyes of SME customers. And actually this is the function that are giving possibility to the banks to support their SME customers, their businesses in their everyday job. What we see if we look at this, this is a snapshot from a Polish market. Bank Pekao is doing every year a study on the micro and SME customers, and I wanted to emphasize here one fact that, for example, only 90% of micro and SME customers implemented product innovation during the last 12 months, so 19%, and only 13% implemented some innovations in their processes. So this is actually the state of digitalization of SME customers. And what is actually interesting is that this is a snapshot, for example, from the Area Bank strategy in Poland. Maybe one comment here from my side that this is a very interesting fact that in Poland, probably this is at the moment the only country where banks are publishing their strategies on their website, and you can, if you're interested, you can find this information on the website. So this is open. for everybody, and for what is very important for the fintechs and for the third-party providers as well. So just like this slide, and wanted to share this with you. So actually, what customers are expecting from the banks right now. So they're expecting that the bank will be, of course, a traditional bank, granting or giving, providing the standard services like payments, but should be very useful, and of course the guarantee of safety of their finances and data. Bank should be a digital one, so should have a very useful application, and also availability and speed of reaction on customers' requests. Also, customers would like to have individual approach and a very flexible offer to them. And what is interesting that the customers are expecting the bank to make their everyday life easier. So they expect from the banks to receive additional services, and also to the banks should be like on the background. So this traditional or classical banking transactions, payments, etc., that they should be like in the background of the everyday life of the SME customers. So actually, what is the business rationale for SMEs to receive, we call it value-added services from the banks. So first, this is automation and simplification of their everyday job, because banks are able to integrate all the services like e-invoicing, online accounting, with payments, with online banking, and this simplify and this minimize the time of the administrative job for SME customers, which is very crucial, especially for the private entrepreneurs or sole traders, let's say, when one person is responsible for everything. And of course, secondly, the banks can support these systems like invoicing or online accounting at a minimum cost for customer, and that having this customer can have, in a case of need, some invoice financing. And of course, banks are meeting all the legal compliance requirements. So what is the business rationale for banks to provide such services for business customers? So of course, as I mentioned, this is a value proposition, and this is the functions that are differentiating banks on the market right now. So I think maybe in few years, in several years, this will become a new normal. So this will become a new must-have that mainly all the banks will provide this. We'll see, but at the moment, this is that differentiates banks. And being an SME in Poland, I can really say that I was choosing a bank than to open a current account so I chose the one who actually provides me such additional services like e-invoicing and online accounting. So this is crucial. Of course, second is that this is a new channel or additional channel for revenue growth, and of course this is a cross-sell of opportunities, because if banks have data on the invoices of the customer, of course this is easier to approve some invoice financing for them. I wanted to show you some examples existing on the market. So this is example from mBank. I think Tomasz will be able to say us more in details and more insights on that. But mBank implemented together with Cash Director, I think 3 or 4 years ago, and this was the first solution on the market, the e-invoicing functionality and the online accounting services. What is good here is that this is a unified interface, that the customer has one login, so to the online banking, and the e-invoicing and accounting is available in the online banking for the customer. Mainly, this is targeted for private entrepreneurs. And also, this is very simplified and, let's say, intuitive solution that really almost all of the fields can be fulfilled automatically, and customer really need 2 clicks to issue the invoice. Some other examples, for example, ING Bank in Poland also have this functionality, and they have separate. So for the entrepreneurs, they have a separate solution, and which is available on the online banking for private individuals and entrepreneurs. And this is also a lot of functions are automated, and also customers can do self-accounting here. And for the companies, they have more. Just wanted to say yes. For the companies, they have more sophisticated versions. So they have the separate online banking for the companies and a separate solution on e-invoicing and online accounting. And here we can see a really wide range of the functions. And also here, a dedicated accountant is. So the customer has a dedicated human accountant, let's say, here, because like companies need this. This is impossible actually to do the accounting without the accountant, at least in Poland at the moment. So here, like the communication with the accountant is done via this portal. So no emails, no additional sending additional documents by emails. Everything is uploaded on this portal. Also, e-invoicing system, HR system integrated here. So a very wide range of the functions. And here I also wanted to show you the example from Hungary. This is OTP Bank. They were also one of the first banks that implemented such a solution for SMEs. They call it OTP EBs. And this is the platform that also allows one sign-in, single sign-in, and includes everything, including BFM model, so the customer can see their incomes, analyze, etc. Also includes, so this is also one of the screens, and also includes e-invoicing functions module. But what is interesting also here, and I think this is still unique in the whole CE region, that they have in this model not only that the customer can issue their invoices in the electronic format, but also they can receive here the invoices from their counterparty. So doesn't matter from which invoice system the counterparty sent it, but the customer of OTP Bank received this in this invoice module in the special inbox, and it really took 2 clicks to pay. So 1 click is to accept the invoice, and the second click is to pay, because it is also integrated with the online banking, and also main part of the fields are fulfilled automatically. So actually it takes 2 clicks for customer to proceed with the payment. So very easy. So I think, Tomasz, I'm ready to pass you the word to give us more insights. Okay. Yes, so this is your presentation.
Okay, thank you. So 5 things to learn from Revolut about helping small business customers. And it is actually not about the technology. So it's not about being agile, about being fintech, about building great digital banking or building in cloud or using artificial intelligence. It is all about the proper understanding of the customer. And the customer is entrepreneur. So maybe, let's start at looking at our customer, entrepreneur. And, this is real small business customer. Her name is Martina. She's a wedding planner in Warsaw. And actually here on the left-hand side, you can see what's on her mind. So what bothers her, what drives her, and these are actually the drivers, the thoughts of everyday life. So the topic number 1 for each and every entrepreneur is that they don't have time because there is one woman show or one man show. So one person needs to take about everything. They are also feeling the burden of bureaucracy, taxes, social security, dealing with documents, invoices, cost, bills. These are the kind of hours per week. Hours per week. Currently, as you know, it's you can feel it, every minute. Our entrepreneurs are kind of very strained on cash. So no, the biggest worry is how long am I going to survive, and also what do I have to do to be still compliant with my business. And if you look at the kind of the drivers, you can see that there's a kind of lots of ambition. Yeah, they know that they are the people that wants to fight despite the circumstances. And one more thing, if you look at the how they use IT or how they use the kind of the technological tools, they are not that advanced. They don't change the technology very often. If they need to change, they change it, every 2 years, of every kind of 2 years and a half. They about technology, they tend to go for a kind of the safe brands. So the brands that are known and that guarantee somehow the good level of the technological experience. So please remember that while discussing this additional services. So this is our entrepreneur, and let's see how banks look at our entrepreneur. So this is how Revolut sees our entrepreneurs. So they see every detail. They don't distinguish between banking and non-banking. And if you look at the banks, banks can still see the entrepreneur, but they are lacking the details. They don't care about the things that are not pure banking, and this is kind of the bad for experience. If you look how how banks hear to the customers. This is my experience dealing with different banks. They hear about for example, here we can see the need to have a kind of nice mobile bank. They know that they need to have a good funding solution, for example, overdraft. They are giving even now the solution to manage the cash flow for entrepreneurs, so you can kind of postpone the loan payment. And they are aware, banks, they are aware that the entrepreneurs, they are not IT experts, so the whole experience need to be kind of simple. It must be designed for kind of the simple person for everyday use. So this is what the banks hear. But if you look at the guys, like Revolut and some other neobanks like Sterling, the one interesting thing that is that they hear more. And what do they hear? They hear about problems, for example, dealing with the paper invoices. In some countries, including Poland, it's 21st century, and you still have to deal with the paper invoices. And it's crazy, but you still and like 80% of accountant before this corona crisis still required the customer to hand over the paper documents to them. Now it is changing because the law allows for the electronic documents, but the accountant, they were not used to electronic documents. So what other things that the Revolut hear? For example, they hear about the problems of getting money for the customers, because issuing the invoice it's easy. It's like 5 seconds the job, but getting the customer to pay, this is the problem, and banks, they don't help. Revolut is also listening and looking at the problems of reconciliation between the invoices and the bank accounts. And every time I talk to entrepreneurs, this is one of the biggest time killer throughout the week. You need to log into the banking system, you need to log into your accounting system, and need to go manually invoice by invoice and check if it was paid or not. And you can hand over this task to assistant, but it needs to be done. And it's in majority of cases, it needs to be done kind of manually. And you can see that these entrepreneurs, they have the support of the accountant, but being small, sometimes your accountant doesn't understand your calls, so you just cannot get any help, any support. And why it is important? Because if you look at the time spent on those kind of non-banking financial activities, if you add up some time, it could be kind of 4 or 5 hours per week. 4 or 5 hours per week, which is spent on kind of non-critical business things. The things that could be automated. So this is why this the whole area of kind of invoicing, accounting, it's not for accountant, it's not for the bank, but it's super important for your customer, for entrepreneurs. So that's why for me these are not the kind of value-added services. On the contrary, these are the kind of everyday basic services for the entrepreneurs. So the lesson number 1 from the Revolut is that you need to look at the right glasses, and you need to look at the real customer problems. Then, if you already know the problems, if you look at how Revolut tackle with the small business banking, you could see that they offer more than 10,000 small business features. And they do it in a very specific and interesting way, because they don't kind of extend their own system. They just built one thing. They have very smart AP integration. So they have very kind of smart and robust code, which allows them to link with the multiple third-party applications that actually, through the integration and data interchange, they actually are kind of delivering the value for the customer. And some of the integration you probably heard about Xero. Xero, this is the accounting company from New Zealand. They are very strong in New Zealand, Australia, US, and also in UK. And they are fully integrated with Revolut. It means that you can do automatically the reconciliation between your bank and the invoices. You can do automatic expense tracking. And of course, if you log into the Xero app, you could do all kind of fully fledged accounting without the need to manually feed the financial data. Similar case with the Invoice Express. This is the very kind of interesting app for invoicing, but you can do issue the invoice, you can send the invoice to the customer, you can collect the payment, you can send the reminders to be paid, and it is also fully integrated with the Revolut, and you can have the document transfer, and you can see the payment reminders from at the level of Revolut. QuickBooks integration. This is another example of accounting tool. Free agent integration. This is another accounting, very broad. Actually, in the free agent, you can also have time tracking features, payroll features, expense tracking features. So overall, only in this one application, you have 300 plus different features to manage business. Another pretty interesting example is the example of the Slack. Slack, as you know, probably know, it's a very popular application to manage the kind of the work at teams, to manage the kind of the flow of information with the teams, and you can actually integrate with the Revolut, and the information could be sent automatically from Revolut to the Slack, to different work groups in the Slack about different actions that happens on your account. And let me finish this integration overview with the Zapier. Zapier is the kind of the very interesting application. It actually gives Revolut the chance to get integrated with another 2,000, you know, it's crazy, 2,000 business apps, and it allows the data transfer between Revolut and those apps. So imagine how many different use cases you can address. You know, imagine how many different problems of the small business customers you can address if you have this kind of integration. So if you just look to the customers, Revolut customers, they are really kind of they are very appreciative about the integration. So it's it's growing trend. It's Revolut is doing that, Sterling Bank is doing that, N26 is also doing that. If you look at the kind of incumbent banks, they are still very few examples. One of them could be DBS Bank. So the lesson number 2 would be that you should invest in API integration and partnerships, and you should not invest with building the features by yourself, because you will never be able to compete with the 10 best accounting application on the planet. So then what can we do? As a cash director, we offer the kind of the portfolio of products that you can easily integrate into your banking platform. It's those products start from the kind of very easy and user-friendly doc transfer, so the kind of platform to transfer the documents to the accountant, through managing your invoices, managing your bills, then managing your cash flow, and finally having the solution that actually through the AI, it actually could completely automate your finance management for the company. So I would suggest that if you want to kind of push for the integration, that you should start kind of today. You should start from small, and you should consider one of the ideas. This is the doc transfer, and doc transfer. If you look at the empty streets, if you look at the quarantine, if you look at the fact that people they cannot kind of go out from the house and contact with each other. So actually this the doc transfer, it addresses the problem that the entrepreneur needs to kind of hand over invoices, revenue invoices, or cost bills to the accountant. Usually it was done in the paper or in the email, but problem with paper now is that you cannot go to the post office, and it's dangerous to go to the accountant in person. You could send it via email, but then you don't have any system to store it, any logic to see how the documents are stored. You don't have any kind of chances to see if your accountant actually log into the system and downloaded your documents. So the doc transfer, It's a kind of great tool that you can use to collect and accept invoices and bills. You can make a photo of the bill or on the invoice and download it to the platform. You can invite your accountant to securely access the documents, and you can monitor if the accountant is actually downloading or using the platform. And why you should act now? Why it is the great platform and great solution now? Actually we just developed this platform 2 weeks ago. We got calls from our banking customers that were actually asking us to to help them help their small business customers. This could be set up for your customers in 48 hours. It does not require an IT capex. The integration is very limited. And the main benefit is that you can help your small business customers in their real problems now. Because what is important that the clock is ticking. The deadline to submit the documents is today we have the 2nd. The deadline is in the first deadline for April is in 8 days. So the people, despite they don't kind of work actively, they need to kind of keep this document flow. And the doc transfer is the perfect tool to deliver that. A few words about the Cash Director. We are the leader in cloud accounting provider in Poland. So we have the first integration with mBank a few years ago. It was the first worldwide deep integration of accounting. We have also another integration with BNP Paribas and another with another bank in Poland. I think you can say that we became the kind of the benchmark, or how to conduct the deep integration of accounting, invoicing, and factoring within the banking system. So lesson number 3 would be start helping now, start expanding your system now, and start small, and if you find it good, you can start with the solution that I have proposed. In any questions or follow-up discussion, please contact me here. And thank you very much. Stay safe and keep the faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Tomasz. We have here several comments that I would like you to shortly comment. So first was how you promote all this integration. This is all high-tech, fintech tools. And another opinion that to use all of these units, or I think SME should be advanced tech user. And doc transfer uses OCR technology from PhotoScan. So this was the question. So does the doc transfer use OCR technology? Tomasz, this is a question to you, and how you promote this integration. This is a high-tech fintech tools. Please comment shortly.
Actually, it's we try it. We are making this together with our banking partners. We are simplifying the user interface. We are simplifying the kind of the selling story. We are whenever it is possible, we try to copy the banking user interface. Just to minimize the need for learning to use these tools. And actually, we are trying hard to actually adjust it and make it kind of user-friendly for every average entrepreneur. And the second question for the doc transfer, yes, we have OCR.
Yes, let me check if we have more questions. We had, are these tools mobile friendly as well?
So currently we are launching the mobile desktop, the desktop version on RWD. So that would be kind of the mobile friendly. So it is not kind of purely designed for mobile, but could work on the mobile devices.
Okay, thank you. I had a question that I will answer at the beginning. Just a second. There was a question: do we have anyone have digital loan for SMEs? Yes, actually, the examples that I showed from mBank and ING Bank in Poland, having these e-invoicing and online accounting solutions. So actually, these two banks have fully digital lending process for SMEs. So the customer can apply until the disbursement and signing of the agreement. It can be done fully digitally. And as I mentioned, so if in mBank, this is mainly for entrepreneurs. So in ING Bank, this process available even for big corporations. So if you, now, I mean, before the quarantine, so now the customer, early customer, even from corporate, didn't want to, to contact his relationship manager. Then actually he was able, or they were able to proceed everything online.
Yes, and also, one more last comment. If you have some topics or areas that you would like to discuss or that you would like us to show you or discuss, please contact Olena and myself, and we will be trying to accommodate.
Yes, the last question, and actually we will be closing the meeting, and yes, you are welcome to write your questions after the webinar to our emails. We will send you a follow-up email with the video and with the presentation, so you're welcome to ask your additional questions. And the last question, Tomasz, to you: is the solution available only in Poland?
No. It will be. It is available globally. We have already some discussion with banks in Western Europe and in North America, and actually this the solution could be adjusted to the local specifics or local banks in 48 hours. So we are super fast and super flexible.
Thank you. So our time is over, and I will be closing this meeting, and also invite you to join our next webinars as well. So next week we will have 3 topics to discuss. So on Monday we have Agile Mondays. So every Monday at 11 a.m. we are talking about agility. So next Monday the topic is Agile People. On April 8, we will be discussing how to develop banking products remotely. And next Friday, on April 10, we will be discussing how to set purely digital sales of banking products to SME customers on the example of factoring product, and how exactly a Polish factoring fintech called SMEO is doing this. And there also, I saw a question about the factoring as well. So yes, so next Friday, we will have a dedicated webinar on the digital factoring. So please join us next Friday as well, and we will discuss it in more details. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for your attention, and see you next week online. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.